How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, this is a story in the Liverpool Echo. It's about what's it like being on remand in Walton jail for 2 months with a carving knife wound in your leg. I'm going to read the story, guys, and do my bit at the end, as I always do. As you know, guys, I've surpassed 10,000 subscribers. 10,000. Absolutely blown away, as you all know. Truly blessed, really am. Like I say, my channel isn't the best, I'll be honest with you. I'm not the best speaker, not the most articulate of people. I'm not polished. Yeah, man. Can I just reference something? When I'm dropping prison footage, right? Number one, I wouldn't drop that footage if it wasn't already out there in the public domain, because I'm not a grass. I'm not going to blow anyone up. I stick up for prisoners, so I wouldn't blow them up. But if it's out there in the public domain on different social media platforms, Instagram and stuff like that, then I'll put it on my channel. So yeah, I wouldn't, if that footage wasn't in the public domain, I wouldn't put it out there. Why? Because it'll blow people up. People start getting spun and stuff. It's also embarrassing as well for the prisoners involved in the footage, for their families, if they're on the receiving end of it and stuff. But like I say, guys, it's sort of that culture in prison where people film stuff, want to embarrass people. They'll take a dig for a spliff of spice, or you've seen the effects of that drug. Never, ever. If you end up in prison, I plead with you, please, please, please don't take that drug, because it'll grab hold of you, and then you'll end up leaving prison with an addiction to spice. And a lot of prisoners have already got addictive natures anyway, addictive personalities. You leave prison addicted to spice, and you're going to end up having to steal. You'll steal from your loved ones. You'll steal from shops. You'll do what you've got to do to get that fix. It's not good. Anyway, guys, moving on from that. So the headline reads, "What's it like being on remand in Walton jail for 2 months with a carving knife wound in your leg?" Story starts, "I know that prison is not meant to be a holiday camp, but it was a horrible ordeal. A man who was stabbed in the leg with a carving knife says he did not receive prompt or appropriate medical attention whilst on remand at HMP Liverpool. The Norwich Green man, whose identity is known by the Echo, but who asked the Echo to be referred to as Robert, was stabbed during a fight with another man last October. Robert was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm and then taken to the Royal Hospital for treatment to his leg. He said, 'I handed myself into the police on October the 13th. I was then arrested and taken straight to the Royal. The knife wound was pretty deep and doctors wanted to make sure the bone wasn't damaged, so they sent me for an x-ray. It was just a flesh wound, but a deep one. I had also lost the feeling in my foot, so staff at the Royal referred me to Wiston Hospital for an operation on October the 17th. They covered the wound with butterfly stitches, which are only temporary.'" And then there's a picture of the wound, guys, which I put at the start. He continued, "I was then taken by police to St Anne Street Police Station, where I was questioned and then charged with GBH. At the time, I was in a lot of pain and spent the weekend at the police station. I was up in court on Monday when my bail was declined, but the magistrates advised HMP Liverpool to make sure my leg was tended to, which I found reassuring at the time. Robert was then taken to HMP Liverpool, where he was placed on remand. He told the Echo that bosses at Walton Jail postponed his operation at Wiston from October the 17th to November the 13th. He said, 'After I was inducted, I was seen by a prison nurse. I explained my leg injury to her, but she told me the operation at Wiston would not go ahead on the 17th. I told her that I had nausea and my blood pressure was high. The nurse said they would get a doctor to see me. They would, that's obviously to see me. I was sent to A Wing for 48 hours. I was then moved to B Wing. I told prison staff I could barely walk on my leg and that I was in a lot of pain. There was no light in my cell and no toilet seat. I had to go to the medical hatch on the second floor 3 times a day for painkillers and antibiotics. A nurse agreed to inspect my leg and they took me to a scruffy, dirty room and asked me to sit on a table. She explained to me that she needed to put a probe into my leg to see how deep the wound was. She asked me to put the probe in myself because she didn't know my pain threshold. The wound then turned out to be 6 centimetres deep. It was painful and difficult to hobble around the wing from wing to wing with a leg injury. I also had to attend my own dressing because the staff could not come from behind the medical hatch. It needed changing twice a day. Robert said there were more problems after his operation took place on November the 17th. He said, after I was operated on November the 13th, my leg was stitched up properly when I arrived back at Walton jail after surgery. I explained to staff that I was to be taken to hospital wing for a day or two because I had undergone general anaesthetic. But they refused and took me back to B wing. I was in a lot of pain and had a terrible night in the cell. I had to press the buzzer, but nobody came for 3 hours. They let me out of my cell in the morning to get a shower when I slipped. My stitches burst open, my leg started to bleed a lot, and it was a real mess. The senior officer on the wing got a doctor down who said they needed to get me back to hospital on an emergency. I was then left for 8 days before they managed to get me to hospital. But when I got to hospital, they said there was little they could do and said it would have to heal naturally on its own. The next day, I was released from jail. 4 weeks later, my charges were downgraded from GBH to a fray and I was given a £120 fine. I know that prison is not meant to be a holiday camp, but I think I should have been bailed rather than placed on remand. It was a horrible ordeal. Robert, who pleaded guilty to the charges, has now fully recovered from his leg injury. The Echo asked the Ministry of Justice for a comment about Robert's claims and subsequently received a statement from Spectrum Community Health, CIC, which is responsible for healthcare services at Liverpool Prison. A spokesman for Spectrum told the Echo, although we are unable to discuss individual cases, we do ensure that patient safety is the key considerations with all clinical decisions, and at no point will a patient be put at risk. Well, that's absolutely rubbish, guys, because I've heard a lot of bad things about Spectrum Community Health. CIC, I think, stands for Care in Custody, which is just a laughing stock, guys. You can see from the injuries, guys, they're quite significant. It might have only been 6 centimetres deep, guys, but like the first picture you see is, you can see the actual wound as it stands, as it stood when he was first stabbed. Then you can see the dressing. And then you can see the actual puncture wound itself. Quite meaty chunk. I don't know if you can see that because of the light. Yeah. Healthcare in prison, guys, is inadequate. I've heard nothing but bad things about Liverpool Prison when it comes to healthcare conditions, treatment of prisoners, regime, and everything else that comes with it. It's not just Liverpool Prison, guys. It's all prisons. They've got a duty of care to the prisoner, but the reality is, guys, put it like this, right? There was Dr. Harold Shipman, right? Dr. Death, as he was nicknamed, right? He was supposed to have killed over 300 people. He was from Hyde. He had a surgery in Hyde, where I used to live, in Manchester. And when he was on remand at Strangeways Prison, because healthcare was that bad, he used to hold a surgery in his cell. Straight up, right? It's on documentary about Strangeways. What does that say for the healthcare in prison if prisoners are queuing up to see Dr. Death? Like I say, guys, it sounds like it could be speaking out because there's a compensation claim going in against the prison. I wouldn't blame him personally. I'd be banging a claim in as well, medical negligence and stuff like that. You've got to think, guys, if that would have got infected or anything like that, he could have ended up having it amputated. There's many things that could have gone on from that. Do you know what I mean? Prison is not a clean place, and if any of that dirt or infection would have got into his body, then that would have been, he could have ended up in a serious situation there, couldn't he? Disgusting treatment of prisoners, guys, not uncommon, takes place every day in prisons up and down the country. Let me know what you think about the story. Let me know what you think about the pictures. Link in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.